Ashe, and welcome to the Ashe Shop Podcast. This is a place for people who want to learn about the Orisha and African spiritual practices. I am Ashley, your Orisha storyteller and guide through the ins and outs of the spiritual journey. Think of this like your weekly spiritual study session. Our studies are going to focus on the practices based within the Yoruba pantheon, so you can expect to hear stories and discussions from multiple perspectives, including Isheshe, Lakumi, Santeria, and more. Every week, we're going to dig into a different Orisha, exploring their meaning and their influence. Allow me to introduce myself. My name's Ashley, and y'all know me as Ashley from the Ashe Shop. I started sharing stories of the Orisha in 2019. And when I started my spiritual journey, when I found the Orisha, I was hurting. I was feeling betrayed. I was feeling isolated. And my faith was really waning. Of course, when I started my journey, I took the usual steps. I looked into metaphysics. I looked into astrology. I looked into Kemetic practices. I just kind of looked all over to figure out, okay, what is going to be right for me? What is resonating with me? And I found that ancestral veneration really resonated with me. But it was the Patakis and the story of the Orisha that turned out to be the ointment on my wounds and the catalyst of my healing. One story in particular stood out to me and really set me onto the path of becoming a griot and a culture bearer. And that story is known as, it's titled Oshun's Ebo, and you can find it in the Teachings of the Santeria Gods, the Spirit of the Odu by Ochanili Lee. But of course, y'all know I put my own little twist on it. I put my little bends on it. I added a little bit of my hurt and pain into it. And that story took on a completely different meaning. And of course, it wouldn't be the Ashe Shop without me getting into a story. So let's dig in. This is the story of Oshun at the river. This one really set me on the path of healing because I found an energy or something I can look for, something I can look at that actually helped me to understand my pain and that there was healing past my pain. Oshun is the Orisha of love. Oshun is the Orisha of diplomacy and equality. Oshun is the underdog. Because she is a woman, because she is seen as small and demure and weak and submissive, people often write her out. And at this point in life, Oshun is at a place where she literally is down and out. She's at her bottom. Y'all have heard the story. Some of y'all may have heard the story about Oshun had her dress was yellow because it used to be a white dress. And she was going through so much that she had to keep washing the same dress. And the dress ended up turning yellow. This is this story comes from that point in Oshun's life where she's really hurting, she's really down, she's really been through some things. And as a woman, especially in my early 30s, I'd have been through some things that brought me to a place where it's like you looking around and you don't know who to trust. You're looking at decisions you've made and you don't even not sure you can really trust yourself. Oshun was down and out. She was feeling low. She was feeling weak. She was feeling lost. She was feeling abandoned. How can the Orisha of love, the Orisha that carries so much beauty with just her name, feel like she has nothing? To the point where when she walks into the Babalawo's home and the Babalawo looks at Oshun, he doesn't even recognize her. That spirit, that glow about her, it is not there. She is looking dull. She is looking drabby, just dreadful. Even the yellow just isn't shining. And the Babalawo is like, girl, if you don't get down to this man and sit down and let us divine and help you understand what's going on with you. So, of course, the Babalawo divines for Oshun. And the Odu that comes out let her know that Ebo needs to be made. And Oshun said, well, what offering, what Orisha do I need to make an offering to? Because that's an Ebo. And Ebo is an offering made to an Orisha. He looked at her, he said, you need to make Ebo to the river. And Oshun looked at him, knowing. She said, okay, what do I need to offer? He said, you need to offer palm oil as much as you can get and honey as much as you can get and go down to the river and bathe yourself in the river as you feed the palm oil and the honey to the river. Oh, she'll have some questions. But she says nothing as she gets up and leaves the Babalawo's house, walking to the market, knowing that she has nothing but the clothes on her back and the smile on her face. She walks into the market smiling, knowing that she feels down, and bumps right into the palm oil seller. The lady who sells the palm oil, Oshun had helped her daughter a couple weeks back. So the palm oil lady had been looking for Oshun. She said, "Oh, I'm happy to see you." Oshun said, "Are you?" She was like, "Yeah, remember when you helped me a couple weeks back? I wanted to let you know that my son's feeling a lot better. Thank you." Oshun said, "You welcome." And the lady literally takes a pot of palm oil and sits it into Oshun's hands. Oshun smiling a little bigger as she walks a little further and bumps into the lady who keeps the bees. The lady who keeps the bees turns around and says, "Oshun, I've been looking for you. Thank you so much for helping me out a couple weeks ago when you told me, to move my beehives because it would help my bees give them more plentiful honey." Oshun says, "Well, I know honey." And the lady turns around and hands a big pot of honey to Oshun. She says, "In gratitude, I know you love your honey. I want you to taste how good it is, now that you've helped me out." So Oshun is feeling a little uplifted. She's feeling a little hopeful as she's walking down to the river. But as she's walking down to the river, she sees the people who used to be her friends, the people who smiled in her face, the people who were telling her, "Oh, you're so great, you're so amazing. I don't know how you do all this." And now that she's at a point where all the things they viewed as being great and all the things they viewed as being amazing are no longer a part of her life, and they really don't have anything to say to her, but they have a whole lot to say about her as they see her pulling this big jar of palm oil and honey down the road as she heads down to the river. It's amazing how somebody's negativity can bring down a little bit of good and a little bit of sunshine you done felt in that day. Because by the time Oshun gets to the river, she's feeling down. She's feeling out. She's feeling overwhelmed. All the negativity, "I can't do this. I can't do that. I shouldn't do this. What are they going to think about that?" is overwhelming her in their mind. Everything that she's lost, everything that should have been, that would have been, that could have been, is pouring over her as she starts to pour the palm oil over her. And as she starts to pour the honey over her, and it flows into the river, her tears start flowing down her face. Once that one tear starts, there's no stopping the rest of them. And the rest of them just start flowing as the palm oil and honey flow over Oshun into the river. Oshun has cried out her tears. She has cried out her fears. She has cried out her doubts. And at this point, she's just tired, so she lays down on the river just to go to sleep. Eshu appears, and he sees that the offering has been made. Then Eshu reappears in front of Olodumare, the creator, the owner of heaven. Olodumare says, "Eshu, what's up?" Eshu says, "Well, you remember that stuff Oshun was going through and you was like, yeah, she was going to get over it?" He was like, "Well, she made the apple." Olodumare smiled, said, "Yeah, I knew she was going to make that apple. Go ahead and bless her." Eshu said, "No problem, say less." Eshu disappeared. When Oshun woke up the next morning, she rolls over and sees Eshu looking at her. And she kind of like, "Eshu, how long have you been?" And she was like, "You know what, Oshun, don't worry about that. I came to deliver a message from Olodumare. Olodumare said your prayers have been heard and answered. Olodumare said, you made that offering to the river, but of course, you are the river. The river belongs to you." So as Oshun rolls back over, she sees that the river is filled with jewels. The gold, the honey has turned to gold. The palm oil has turned into precious jewels. Her tears are littering the water. All the wealth of the river is Oshun. This story helped to lift me up because I actually saw an energy that was connected to my ancestry, that it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. She had been through some things, she had lost some things. But through her sacrifice, even when she had nothing left, through her sacrifice, her faith sustained her and helped her to attain riches. When I first started my journey, this story literally led me to want to know more stories. Before becoming a full-time spiritual entrepreneur, I worked for over 10 years as a mental health professional. I have experience working with and treating people diagnosed with a wide range of mental illnesses. But regardless what the illness or the treatment plan was, I've learned that there is no treatment for a loss of faith. And at the time when I first started learning about and discovering the Orisha, and I found out many people like me had lost faith in the church, in our spirituality, and in the community. African traditional religions and African spiritual beliefs were the answers to the major question that I had, which was, did our ancestors really not know God before they were introduced to Christ? Doing research, I found out about African traditional religions, and learning about them in my early 30s, there was a lot to learn and unlearn, which is why I'm bringing you this podcast, because I want to give us a chance to explore our lives through the lens of our Yoruba ancestors, to discover each Orisha and gain an understanding of their influence in our lives, to give us a chance to learn how to integrate African spiritual practices into our everyday life. And listening to the Ashe Shop podcast, baby, we're going to do just that. You know I have some tea to spill for you. You can definitely expect to hear and participate in progressive discussions of ancestral veneration and other spiritual concepts. The more you listen, the more of an understanding you're going to gain into who are the Orisha, what do they mean, and how do they interact in our life. And you know, of course, I'm going to share accessible resources because I want you to learn for yourself and go into study for yourself. These study sessions are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to your research and integration of African spiritual practices into your life. Of course, if you've ever booked a session with me or taken a class with me, you know there's going to be homework, because we got to do the work, baby. So we're going to begin next week by gaining an understanding of each Orisha. We're going to take a deep dive into a different Orisha every week. And of course, we're going to kick off with the owner of creation, Olodumare, who's not an Orisha at all, but we're going to get into that next week. I want to end our session by reading a prayer from I Hear Olofi Song, a collection of Yoruba spiritual prayers for the Egun and Orisha by Ioka Wiles, PhD, Olosunfemi. You can find this prayer on page 35. This prayer is titled, A Prayer for the Healing of the Community. Seek healing from Olofi and Orisha. In the healing, we witness transformation of self, family, and community. We must seek to be healed from our egoist mind, Ori Ode, which feeds off of pain, physical needs, and reach into our inner selves, our Ori Inu and Ori Oponri, our higher self, to elevate our consciousness for the collective spiritual realignment of our community. We must seek the light of our Ori, our soul. As some of our ancestors recognize it, we must seek the light of understanding. Olofi, I call upon you today, this hour, this minute, this second, to help heal our Orisha community. Heal us so that we may guide the healing of others, so that we may do the good work you have destined for us to do in this land, this world, this universe. May we be in alignment with your divine plan. May we be in alignment with your inner self and higher self. May we triumph in all our journeys and defend your name, your word. May the evolution, preservation, maintenance of our traditions be in your hands as you guide us towards your love. May we seek love within ourselves. May we be relentless in our faith in you. May we have the Iwa Pele to be guided uneffortlessly by you. May our Orisha, and Egun guide us towards the greater destiny of our individual self and the communal selves as a community who worship not only your power, your glory, your divine messengers, but heed you through supplication and sacrifice of self to magnify your power in us. Olofi, you are a witness today of your power just by the breath you have bestowed upon us. May this day be blessed by our honoring you. May this day and all those who came to give and receive be a blessing tenfold. May it be a place of peace, tranquility, healing, transformation, supplication, and empowerment. Let there be no confusion, negativity, or ill will. May the blessings of Olofi, Orisha, and Goon be bestowed upon each and every one here today. Ashe, 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 oh. The resources used today can be found on the book list at theasheshop.com, where you can also register for classes, book a session, and find the supplies you need to anoint your body with our spiritual bath and body products. Thank you for visiting the Ashe Shop. Ashe, 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 oh.